Hello, hello, what's up everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka ReviewKingMB, and I just got back from a screening after seeing Don't Breathe. Yes, Don't Breathe is a 2016 horror film, and it is directed by Fede Alvarez, who is the same director that directed the Evil Dead remake a few years ago. The plot is we meet these three kids, Rocky, Alex, and Money. They basically break into homes and rob people because Alex, his father, works for the home security system, so he's able to successfully shut off their alarms so that they don't get caught. They get in there, they steal a few items, they sell it for money, and boom, easy peasy, right? Well, they need a big one. They need like a big payoff, a big heist. And they find this one blind guy who lives by himself. And it's like, well, fuck, this is going to be the easiest score ever, right? Well, once they get into the house, they quickly realize that this guy is no fucking joke. Yeah, he's blind, but he's an ex-military guy. He almost has the house, I don't want to say booby-trapped, but he knows what the fuck he's doing. He knows how to fend off any robbers if they shall come in. Now, what I think of Don't Breathe was, I enjoyed the movie. I did. I have to say that with the exception of like 2 or 3 movies from like January, horror movies have been pretty damn good this past year. I've had a good track record as far as horror, so I'm happy. I'm very happy. But what I liked the most about this movie was the premise. It felt different. I mean, I'm sure you can reference other movies that it sounds like or makes you think of. But it felt like a different type of horror that we see in a while. It's not dealing with ghosts. It's not dealing with possession. It's dealing with something that could very well happen if the event and if certain circumstances came to pass. Like, these 3 characters, at first, like when I describe what type of people that they are robbing people, that they are doing this and that, you're probably thinking, well, they're fucking unlikable, right? So whatever happens to them, like, who gives a shit? That's true. At first, I was wondering, like, if something bad happens to any of them, why should I care? Money, he's the asshole of the group. He's definitely the guy who, if something happens to him, who gives a fuck? Because fuck this guy, he's a douchebag. Alex is played by Dylan Minetti. I don't know if I said his name right, but he has a thing for Rocky, played by Jane Levy. Jane Levy was also in the Evil Dead remake, so it makes sense that Fede Alvarez would use her again here. And when you look at Alex and him having a crush on her, it's like, well, sure, maybe he could use the money too and whatnot, but is he really only doing this because he has a crush? Because if that's the case, damn bro, you got it bad. You really do. I mean, Jane Levy is cute. She is. But she's probably the character that you feel bad for the most or relate to the most. She has a daughter, and she's living in a pretty fucked up situation, and she wants to get her daughter out of this. She wants to get enough money to get out of there. So at least you go like, okay, I'm not condoning what you're doing, but at least you have a reason for why you're so desperate to do what you're doing. Now, the blind man is played by Stephen Lang, who's a good actor, so it was interesting seeing him play this guy who, at first, I felt bad for. At first, I was like, man, this is a blind guy who really didn't ask for any of this. He's just staying to himself in his house. And when you hear how he got as much money as he has, you're like, damn, you like, who is letting this happen to this poor guy? Until there comes a point in the movie, I won't spoil it, but there's a point in the movie where you go, is this guy really all that good of a person? There might be some shady stuff going on with him as well, and I think that's where you turn, that's where you start to feel bad for these kids. And the movie does a good job of building tension, building suspense, building scenes of you having to stay quiet, of you having to watch your surroundings and not make noises. Because this guy, this blind guy, is like Daredevil. I mean, maybe if these kids watched Daredevil on Netflix, they would know that his senses, his other senses, will be heightened. And there's no way around him. He can hear everything, he can smell everything. So maybe they should have thought of that. He's also a blind guy with a gun, which can't ever really go too well. But again, building the tension, building the suspense. There's some jump scare moments, but I think for the most part they're effective. They work. There's one scene especially where he kind of knows that he can't, like, they're running around, so he can't catch them. So he shuts off all the lights in his house, and they can't see anything. Like, they're blind as well. So it's even playing field, and he's stalking them down, and they can't see. That was probably the best tension-filled moment of the movie. Now there's parts, sure, especially towards the end, where there's moments where this blind guy is able to catch up to them or pops up out of nowhere, and you're like, well, how the fuck did he do that? He's blind! How is he already at this location? But that's where you have to suspend your disbelief. That's where you have to just kind of go with the movie, because it takes several different twists and turns that you sort of just, if you're willing to go with it, I think for the most part it works. I'm not saying it was the scariest movie I've seen this year. I'm not saying that I was terrified throughout the whole thing, but there were moments. There were moments of me being a little on edge and me sort of like hoping that these characters make it out of there alive. So my rating for Don't Breathe, a movie that I didn't know what to expect, but I was pleasantly surprised, I'm going to give this a matinee. Definitely a matinee, so if you can see it in the theater for a cheaper price, that's what I would do. Just saying. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments below if you want to see a good horror movie. Well, Don't Breathe isn't bad. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later! Please won't you save my desires on fire? Sometimes you need a little peace at home. So come follow me and I can lose you. Come follow me and take a trip to the dark side. Wait